Great.
Thank you. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Leggett,
Here.
Mr. Thomas,
Here.
Mr. Bruno,
Here.
Mr. Merlino,
Here.
Ms. Runyon. Here. Mr. Diamond
Here.
and Mr. Driscoll.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. First order of business is to approve minutes of prior committee meetings. We have that as the May 5th meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Supervisor Bruno, second by Supervisor Diamond. Any discussion? Call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we're at 12:09. Okay. Into the action agenda. Request for transfer of funds as attached for committee approval. Motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Runyon, thank you. A second. Supervisor Diamond, thank you. Any discussion on these? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Requests or items to be discussed by the county administrator. I'll turn over to Administrator Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first standard item is the journal transfers that have been approved. Any questions on those? Those are in your packet. The second item, 2B, is request to appropriate funds in the amount of $92,077 from the vehicle reserve to departmental budgets to cover the purchase of vehicles. I'll read off what those departments are. We are purchasing Ford Escapes at a cost of $25,296, one for probation, two for building codes, and also for health services. The health services will have 36% state aid.
Okay, motion to bring this one to the floor. Supervisor Merlino, second, please. Supervisor Thomas, thank you. Discussion. Supervisor Diamond.
Are these purchases, thank you, Mr. Chairman, are these purchases in addition to what we talked about during the budget process?
This is what we talked about during the budget process. In addition, there's sheriff's vehicles, and I believe we already addressed that earlier this year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Driscoll.
To the administrator, could you just remind us the process for vehicles that are being taken off the road? What happens to those?
Well, if we can repurpose them, if we can repair them.
Within the county, yeah. So we try to do that first.
Right.
Okay.
And then if it's, surplus property, we have to sell it.
Great, okay, thanks.
eBay or whatever.
Great, appreciate it, thanks.
Good. We have a motion and a second to appropriate funds of $92,000 from budget code 896 vehicle reserves to various departments. Call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 2C, request to amend Warren County budget in the amount of $9,107 to reflect receipt of state aid associated with the purchase of a vehicle for the Health Services Preventive Program. Anything to add there?
This is the 36% state aid I just referred to for one of the Ford Escapes.
Okay, so moved by Supervisor Bruno, second by Supervisor Driscoll. Discussion? No discussion? Call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Item 3, requests or items to be discussed by the county treasurer. Mike Swan, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. I was going to say good morning, but
Hold on
anyway,
one second.
item A is a request to approve chargebacks of taxes to several towns in the city. This is a housekeeping deal, which is basically because there were some minor mistakes here or there made on several tax bills and so forth. And I need a board resolution to authorize my department to complete the process.
And the schedule is in your packet. Motion to bring it to the floor. Supervisor Bruno, thank you. A second? Supervisor Thomas, thank you. Any further discussion on these? And this is typical for every year, about this many, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. Thank you. Item B.
The Supervisor Leggett asked me to kind of put together some figures and some thoughts about the financial state of our county a little bit here in conjunction with the idea of taking some of the sales tax off of gasoline to help our residents. And before I start, let me say this, that I really don't have an opinion either way. I just at this point feel that the supervisors need some basic information about where we're at and what we're doing in order to, for you to make a good educated decision as to whether or not this is something that should be done. And I've just got some line items here and it'll be pretty quick to go through. Our projections indicate that it'll be about a $1 million loss in revenue if the gas tax is taken off by the county from September 1st to the end of the year, because that is the period we're going to be living or working with. The corresponding loss, obviously, to the municipalities is $500,000 because that we collect, well, we give half of what we collect to the towns. The first 2 quarters of 2022 have seen about a $4.5 million above budget revenue. Okay. I just again want to remind everybody that only half of that stays here in the county. The other half goes to the municipalities. So that's a windfall for everybody. And looking at the gallons of, or the gasoline idea, and this is just going on some averages. If the average driver in this community drives 15,000 miles a year and gets 25 miles to the gallon with their car, that's 600 gallons a year you're going to be using. At $5 per gallon, which is a little higher than what we're paying right now, that's $3,000 a year you're going to be paying in gas. If you take the 16 cents off that the state has just pulled in June, okay, that's a savings of $96 a year or about $8 a month in what you pay for gas, okay? Now, on the other side of this, looking forward, and I consider that part of my job, to look forward, to try to figure out what's coming down the road so that we can work with it. And I've got a few items here that are unbudgeted expenses that are coming in the next 2 years. The first is $1.8 million in debt service for the van that I just borrowed, okay? $3 million in highway repairs for the washouts that we've had on Bay Road and over in Stony Creek. That Supervisor Hayjos told me that just the other day. We've got between $4 and $7 million in legal settlements that we're going to be looking at more than likely with the abuse cases and one other one that we've got. There's about $7 million in additional requests for capital expenditures from the DPW. Their original request to me was almost $18 million over a 3-year period. We borrowed 6.5 to try to get him on the start, but he's still asking for more money. SUNY Adirondack, the last time I looked at all that information, they were looking for about another $5 million for capital expenditures. And the retaining wall in Bolton. We borrowed $1 million for that, or $750,000 for that. The bids just came in at $1.5 million. So we're about $750,000 short. So that means totaling that all up, we've got about $17.5 million worth of expenses coming in the next 2 years that we do not have a revenue source for. Just as information for everybody. Questions?
Yes, Supervisor Merlino.
Just a question. So you're saying about $1 million we'll lose in revenue coming back?
Correct.
I just feel, this is only my personal opinion, we should leave it like it is. And at the end of this year, if it is $1 million that we collected more, we should just take it and add it to the budget for next year. Make the people that are paying taxes in this county, help them out a little bit. Because if you reduce the price, it's going to get people that are passing through, it's people that are coming here, tourists included, that are going to get the savings. And I'd rather see that whole savings of $1 million go into the budget and put it for that line and give it back to the people that pay taxes that live here in this county. That's just my opinion.
And like I said, when I started, I don't really have an opinion on this right now. I just feel that you need to have some general information about where we are and where we're going and what it means so that you can make an educated decision.
To the committee here, I asked the treasurer Swan to look into this, because as listed, 17.5 million in new expenses without funding sources looming us and ahead of us here. What do we do? And because of good fiscal policy and procedures over time, we do have a good fund balance to work with. We are fortunate to be in an area that is still vibrant and has a lot of economic vitality. And at this point, as a finance committee, the question before us is, what's the best use of this money? This is the people's money here. And when we look forward into the needs of our county, especially all these capital costs, what's the best way to plan our way forward for this? Are there, Mr. Treasurer, are there particular ways to set aside any funds to direct them into some of these areas you have mentioned?
Oh, yeah. And Administrator Moore and I have discussed in the past, especially with the legal settlements that we're more than likely going to have to deal with that are not covered by insurance, of setting up either some sort of a reserve or something and budget money to go into that, every year. We haven't talked to the budget officer yet about this. We haven't had time, but that's prudent budgeting, is to look forward to see what kind of expenses you're going to have, and to try to offset that with budget.
And with the $7.9 million that the county has borrowed, that's under a ban that you just signed
Right.
for, it's about $1.8 million in payment per year for the next 5 years
Correct.
to pay that back. And that had no dedicated funding source.
Correct.
Okay. So
At
with,
least that I'm aware of. I don't think the budget officer's gotten that far yet.
okay. And is that, and I'll refer to the administrative budget officer or the treasurer for this one. Is there a way to set aside funds for that band payment? And
Well,
would
there's
that
gonna
come
have to be,
before this
because
committee
it's-
or another?
There's going to have to be a way to do that because it's now part of our debt service. So next year, we are required to make a payment of approximately $1.8 million. So yes, he's going to have to put that into the budget.
Our debt,
Go right ahead, budget officer.
our debt service reduces by a certain amount each year, so that'll take part of it. It won't be all of it. We'll still-
Okay.
we'll still probably, 4 or 5.
Okay. Okay. Administrator Moore?
I would suggest as a mechanism in terms of the settlements, in terms of the debt service, in terms of future and present infrastructure, if we are going to move down this road, that we look at assigning fund balance. That way, it's a little less risky than a reserve, because if the economy tanks and we're in trouble and we need that, you could always unassign it.
Good move. Now that the state gas tax reprieve suspension has gone into effect in Saratoga, has there been a change on prices? Do we know?
Yes, actually, I am tracking that day to day. Today, so the state reduced their taxes and fees as of yesterday. Saratoga County is the only county in the immediate vicinity, unless you count Schenectady, that's done the same. So what I'm doing is each day I'm tracking the average countywide price per gallon in Warren, Washington, and Saratoga. So today's the first day that those reductions showed up in the prices. So Warren County went down 12 cents per gallon. And Saratoga County went down 15 cents per gallon. So as of right now, the effect of what Saratoga County did on top of the state, and of course, there's some supply and demand issues in there as well. But, rough justice, 3 cents per gallon.
Thank you. That puts it into some perspective. Any other questions for the treasurer at this time? And is this committee on board with a plan like what's discussed here for our capital needs? Yep. Okay. Well then, thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Do you need anything from us? Any approvals or any requests at this time?
Nothing, other than the resolution you already did for me on the chargeback for taxes.
Okay.
One other thing I would like to say is right now, this is the week that I'm out inspecting and posting tax delinquent properties that we may foreclose on. So I gotta kind of scoot, because we're under a legal requirement to get it done by a certain time. And we're looking at 180 some properties already this year. So if you don't have any further questions for me, that's why I won't be around much longer. I'm
Okay.
actually headed for Johnsburg right now. Thank you.
Enjoy the drive. We'll see you. Thank you, Mike. Go on to item 4 here, referrals from Economic Growth and Development Committee chaired by Supervisor Wild. Like to bring 4A and B together. If somebody would like to make that motion, both are to amend the county budget. One is to reflect receipt of employment recovery dislocated workers, and the other is to reflect the receipt of TANF funds for summer youth. Thank you, Supervisor Driscoll. And a second, Supervisor Runyon. Discussions? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 5, referral from Health Services Committee chaired by Supervisor Frazier. We have 3 before us here. They are all to amend the Warren County budget. One is to allow a pass-through of state aid funding. Another is to reflect receipt of additional funding for bioterrorism grant. And another is to reflect a total additional allocation for the ELC schools grant contract. Motion to bring those 3 to the floor. Supervisor Runyon, Supervisor Bruno on second. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Number 6, referral from Legislative and Rules and Government Ops Committee chaired by Supervisor Stroud. This one is a request to transfer funds in the amount of $50,000 from the contingent account to cover the cost of unscheduled primary election. Motion bring it to the floor. Supervisor Driscoll, Supervisor Diamond on a second. Discussion. Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7, referrals from Public Works Committee chaired by Supervisor Conover. We have 4 requests here. 3 are to increase capital projects, Bay Road, Sagamore Road, and County Bridge and Culvert projects. And the 4th is a request to amend the budget in the amount of $1,979,084 to reflect a receipt of insurance recovery payment for guardrail repairs. Motion to bring all 4 to the floor. Supervisor Bruno, thank you. Supervisor Runyon on second. Discussion on any of these 4 items. Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. We go on to number 8. Request from or items to be discussed by the clerk of the board, Amanda Allen, clerk. Amanda?
So item 8A, there's a draft resolution in the packet. There was occupancy tax appropriation was included on a transfer resolution mistakenly. So we need to amend that prior resolution and authorize the appropriation. So you've already, the committee, finance committee has already authorized the appropriation last time. We just put it in.
So it's just housekeeping. Motion bring it to the floor then for 8A. Supervisor Runyon, Supervisor Merlino on second. Discussion. Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 8B.
8B, we recently received, my office received a bill from the treasurer's office that they passed on to us for $6,500. That's from Capital Markets Advisors LLC for their services in association with the.
Okay, motion to bring this to the floor. Supervisor Runyon, Supervisor Bruno on a second here. Discussion. And I take it we have 6,500 above and beyond whatever we had just taken out of contingency.
Yes.
Okay. Call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, Finance Committee actions required on the following personnel agenda items. So I'll look to the clerk here. Are all these items, did these all come out from personnel?
Yes, they were all approved at personnel this morning.
Okay. So that's, and that's just 9, 3.
Yeah, it's personnel
4,
agenda
5,
items.
3, 4, and 5.
4A,
4,
5,
Correct,
6A,
yeah, 8B.
Basically everything on the
Okay.
personnel agenda that affected the table of votes.
Okay. I'd like to see a motion to take all of those into account. Supervisor Runyon, Supervisor Bruno on second. Discussion on any of these items. Supervisor Diamond.
Yeah, item B, planning and community development.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to be voting no against that.
To amend the table of organization and salary schedules to create the new position?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question on 9, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. Is that correct? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Pending items. None this month. Privilege of the floor for public comment. Mr. Lehman, any public comment?
Hi, Chairman Leggett. No, there is nothing on YouTube.
Thank you, sir. Any other items to come before the committee at this time?
Did we do resolution 6?
Yes. Right?
The new, did we do that?
We did.
Yes. When we created the new positions, the ESS positions.
Yeah, we voted on all.
Oh, I've got a different agenda. I want to vote, I'm going to go back to that, the position in the table of organization for community service worker. I'd like to see a job description. It's been asked several times that we have a job description. When we're approving new jobs, I haven't, I can't find it in the packet. I'll be voting against that also.
Okay, Supervisor
Please
Driscoll,
note
that's
that.
number,
I've got, my finance agenda has number 6. That is
That's
the
just
number
mine
6
too.
It's position, it's no, well, you've got AB, you've got.
okay,
salary for
6B.
Public defender. I'm voting against that one also.
So A and B?
Yes,
Okay,
Can we do a roll call for those 3, or is that?
Yeah.
okay,
Is it 9? I haven't seen that.
okay.
I
Yeah.
don't see a 9.
Oh, it-
Supervisor Diamond, all of those items were carried by both. But we will, can we make note in the
Oh,
minutes
okay, all
that Supervisor Diamond is in opposition to those?
Oh, 9.
And that would not,
Oh,
Eight,
that would not
nine,
Okay,
change.
all right.
finance
Yeah,
committee, then
okay,
you
you're
got
right.
4, Item 6.
okay.
Oh, 9
Nine,
is up
six.
there. I didn't see that. I'm sorry. I'm looking down at 6. I'm looking down at 8 down here.
And I'd also want to point out.
The action items be 10, or is that, does that need a number?
This is mixed up, it's finance over here.
So,
and
yeah,
personnel.
8, 9. And we've got
It's just a wrong
this.
cover sheet. That's the problem.
These are 6 and 8.
These are all the finance.
We're all
items.
in here.
3
Yes.
are all the items.
Oh,
on the
okay.
personnel.
They're on,
This page,
right, and
Okay, I'm
the
sorry.
agenda at the end.
it says,
Mr. Diamond.
Yeah, I see 9 up here. Look all the way down.
Yes.
it's 8.
Supervisor Diamond, we are marking you opposed to those items.
Last month's.
And also the county attorney. Recommendation
Yes.
there.
So we are looking at 4B, 6A,
That's
and
the
B.
job description for the CSS part-time person.
that's over here.
Okay,
That's not the one I'm talking about. then. I'm mentioning
Okay,
the other position. Creation. Job. Two personnel?
we'll
We'll
mark
talk
that
about
down as opposed.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. Motion to adjourn. Supervisor Bruno, Supervisor Runyon. All those in favor, say aye.
I just recovered
Meeting adjourned.
position that I had.
okay.
The way-